Hey everyone, I'm Jen from Calming Canine, and today I'm making a video for you to answer your questions. So I posted a graphic last week. If you've got questions, we've got answers, and I want to dig into some of those today. I will answer as many as I possibly can, but we did get quite a few from Instagram, Facebook, through private messaging, and I'm going to dig into a few of these today. And I'm hoping that through this platform, I can provide you with some value, get you thinking about how you can help your dog and how you can make some changes in the way that you might be living with your dog or the way that you might be walking your dog in order to help you work through some of these behavior challenges. So my goal for making these videos is I want to be able to provide our canine community with support, and I want to be able to provide them with some value and some help. And so through our training programs, we do provide community support through our pack walks and group classes, but I know that some of you are not our clients and you don't have access to that. So I thought, what better way than to post a video and communicate with you guys and connect and try to help you in the best way that I can. And so I asked for that and you guys responded, which was amazing. And so I'm going to dig into those questions right now. And I'm going to, as I said, answer as many as I can. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to them all, so please bear with me. So the first question, I'm just going to be reading it off. I've got them all in a ordered list. So the first question says, what can I do about my small dog who I think is resource guarding me and my condo? Bites ankles, jumps up to bite hands, has even jumped up, bit a friend's shirt and hung from it for a moment. Our place needs work. Any other tips? So for those of you that don't know what the place command is, I'm going to go into that and explain a little bit about it. And then I'm going to talk about some strategies that we can do to help this dog. So this particular dog is a client of ours. She came for a consultation and we did some leash walking during that consult. And he's a little mix who's quite nervous and fearful of the outside world. So what place command is it's a command that teaches your dog to go to a dog bed or an area that is a designated area for them, like a mat or something like that. And the dog is required to stay on that area, that dog bed, that mat, until you call him off. And what this command does is it's like doggy yoga. It's a turn off button. It's a way for your dog to learn how to work on some impulse control, because staying on a dog bed when asked can be difficult for most dogs if they've never learned this skill. It teaches them how to self-soothe, relax, and see that the world goes on around them and they don't always have to be a part of it. So sometimes dogs follow their owners around the house everywhere, and this command prevents that from happening. It teaches them to just be in your own skin, be on your own a little bit, but you can still be a part of the interaction and the environment. So it's not that you're segregating your dog or putting them away or critting them. It's that they can be on this command and they can still see you. They can still be part of, the action, but they're not underfoot. They're not following you around. They're not mooching when you're eating, all of these things. And this command is very beneficial. We use it a lot for dogs that really struggle with the impulse to go. I see the thing, I want to go. They have no off button. They're always worked up. This command is very beneficial for that. So she wants to know, what can she do to help her dog be more comfortable in the apartment when people are coming over, it sounds like. And the first thing is that when your dog is actually biting people, he's biting the ankles, he's jumping up to bite hands, and even swinging off somebody's shirt, as funny as that might look, it's really not, and it's dangerous. And so the more that your dog practices this behavior, the more that it's going to become ingrained, and the more that he is going to do it even more and even harder. He might actually really hurt somebody. He might bite child's hand one day. He might bite the back ankle of a friend of yours and actually break the skin. So the first thing is we need to prevent this from happening. This is no longer an option for him to engage in this behavior. And so we need to limit his access to do so in the beginning because he is biting, right? That's a serious thing. It's not anything to joke about. So we take that very seriously. Even people that say the dog is just nipping, we actually take that quite seriously because it can lead into some really serious behavior. So the first thing that we need to do is prevent him from having access. So when you have somebody come over to your home, your dog should not be free roaming or loose. So he should not have access to the person or to go to the door. And there are some strategies that we're going to talk about in order to get him to feel more comfortable when people are coming in. He might view people coming in as a threat and he needs to ward them off. So you need to take on that leadership position and show your dog that is no longer his position to take. You are the leader of the home. This is your space, and he is invited into your apartment and your space. But this is your space. It's not his to guard, and it's not his position to ward off other people. That you are inviting someone into your home. They are safe people, and you're going to take control of the situation. So one thing I would do is if people are knocking on the door and your dog is becoming very overly stimulated, I would put your dog in a crate to start. That way you can invite your guests in your home, give hugs and kisses and invite them in and offer them tea, coffee, or wine, depending on what time of the day it is or evening. And your dog is not right there. He's not underfoot and he's not kind of chomping at the bit to get at them. He's put away. And then once your guests come in and they get situated and they're, comfortable, then you tell them, I'm going to bring my dog out and I want you to please ignore him. So no like goo goo gaga, like, oh, he's so cute, or, staring at the dog might be too much for him. So you tell your guests, I'm going to bring my dog out and I want you to please ignore him. So then you bring your dog out and he is on a leash. Very, very important. You need that leash on because you need to be able to guide your dog and direct him. I don't want him just flying out of a crate and running up to the people and getting all worked up. So he comes out on a leash and then he comes out and he goes on place. Now I know you said that the place needs work and it's not very good. So what I would recommend is that you back tie him. So he's on a leash and you loop the leash around, a table or something sturdy to prevent him from coming off. That way he still gets to see the guests, he still gets to be a part of it, but he can't actually get at the person. And then he needs to learn just how to relax. So now he's on place, no one's bothering him, and he will learn how to relax. He will learn over time, and the more repetitions that you do this, that no one's here to kill him. He's going to be okay. And most importantly, you are taking control of the situation and you are the leader. And so that's a really important thing in his eyes. He needs to look at you for that leadership. And so when you practice this over and over and over and you have company coming over, you'll start to see your dog most likely start to get a bit curious about these new people because he's going to start to build a little confidence. He's going to start to feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more safe. Then once he starts showing some curiosity, you can then take the leash and bring him over to the guests and they can interact a little bit. And that's a whole other discussion on how to do that safely, which we'll save for another time because you're not there yet. And I don't want to, jump too much ahead. So that way you work on this first. But do that and let me know how it goes. The big thing is that we need to prevent him from having access in the beginning. He needs to learn how to just coexist. And that place command is going to really come in handy. And you can use a back tie if you need to prevent him from flying off and running over to your guests. Okay, so try those things and let me know how it goes. And I look forward to hearing back from you in a few weeks once you practice this regularly before we can move on to the next step. So the next question is there a way to stop my year-old Chihuahua mix from barking at dogs on our walks outside? We've tried distracting him with treats. He really doesn't care about them. We've tried a martingale collar to see if it helps control him, which it did for the first couple walks. Tried tiring him out before he meets dogs and scolding him. None of it has worked so far. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to talk about a structured walk. And so for those of you that don't know what that means, I'm going to explain what that looks like. But the first thing is that we need to know what kind of barking is it. So Is he barking because he's overly excited and he's a really friendly guy and he wants to go over there and say hi? Maybe he's a very social Chihuahua mix and maybe he goes to daycare a lot, and then being on the leash, he doesn't have access to going and saying hi as he would freely in all other areas, and so he's getting a little frustrated. Or is he barking and he's getting a little snippy and snarly and he's like getting worked up in that way, and it's not of a friendly capacity. It's more of a very reactive way, and he's kind of saying, get away. I'm scared. I don't want you near me. Kind of doing that kind of thing. So we need to know what that is. But regardless of what it is, it can't continue, because you need to be able to walk your dog and you can't have him kind of popping off every time you see a dog, because they're everywhere. Everyone has a dog now. So, but I just want you to kind of think about, what is the nature behind the barking, right? Is he just overly stimulated, wants to go say hi because he's very friendly? Or is he nervous, insecure, a bit fearful, and he's trying to ward off that threat? So just think about that a little bit. But we're going to get into the structured walk, because the structured walk is going to help whichever one it is. And the structured walk is a walk where you are leading your dog. So we often see dogs at the end of the leash leading their owner, sniffing everywhere, all over the place, zigzagging all over the sidewalk. They're marking on every single bush. They're stopping all of the time. And then they're kind of a little bit on alert. So they're always looking, kind of surveying the environment. That is not a good way to walk your dog if you're having behavioral issues. If you have no behavior issues at all and your dog is fantastic and it's not barking and it's not reactive and it has no problems, then by all means you can walk your dog like that. But the vast majority of people don't have that, because we call those cupcake dogs, and there's not too many out there. There are out there though, so if you have one, you can raise your hand and say, hey, that's me. I've got a cupcake dog. And everyone's going to be super jealous. But the vast majority of people don't have that, the cupcake dog. And the dog needs structure and leadership. And when we don't have those things, we see behavioral problems come up. And so we really need to get a handle on that. And the structured walk is one of the best ways that you can communicate to your dog that you are the leader and that they need to go into follower position. And so the structured walk begins in your home, and you need to make sure that you have on the appropriate training lead. So you did say that you tried a martingale collar and it worked for a few walks, but it wasn't anything that worked for you long term. So that might not be the right training collar for you, or it might just mean that we need to show you how to use it in a better way. But regardless, we really like to use head halters, and if you follow our page, you'll see a lot of dogs on them. We like them because it gives control of the head, and we do use them on small dogs. We've got a very small dog in right now that we're using it on, and we've got great success with it. So a head halter might be something that you might want to look into, and it might be the right tool for your dog. So you've got the right tool on your dog, and the walk begins at the front door. So you want to work on the door opening and closing, and that dog be in a sit position or standing, but they're relaxed. They're not flying out the front door as soon as it opens and you're kind of just trailing behind. And then you go on that walk, and you should teach your dog to walk at your side. Now, in the beginning, this can be a little challenging, and so the very first time you do this, don't plan to go anywhere. Go to the end of the street and back, to the end of the street and back, and do that as many times. You don't actually have to go anywhere. The first thing is really teaching some good leash skills. That's the first thing. If you don't have good leash skills and your dog just pulls and disregards you, you're not going to be able to communicate when the stakes are higher, like seeing another dog, or if they want to go somewhere. So the leash skills are the very first thing before we can even deal with dog reactivity. Your dog needs to understand that when that leash is tight, that you are communicating with your dog, and they need to back up a little bit and walk more at your side and at your pace. And then you decide, I always say on a structured walk, you decide where they're going to go, and then you decide when you're going to pull over and let them have a potty break. So you pull over, you let them have a potty break, they've done their business, it's back into a structured walk. And then you walk, 80% of the walk is in that fashion, and then at the end, the last 20% can be a little bit more loosey-goosey. You can give them a little bit more freedom, but in the beginning it needs to be very structured in order to start to have your dog feel a little bit differently about you. Because then when you put him with other dogs, you're going to be telling him, hey, don't do that. And you need to be relevant. You need to be important. Your dog needs to be used to following your lead. And when they're not, that's when we see clients really struggle with, regaining control. So that's going to be the first thing that I really want you to practice. And then once the dog has some really good leash skills and understands, if you give a little tug, or you're on the leash, you should be light, giving a little tug. They understand what that means. Then when we're out with dogs, we need to work on how he feels about other dogs. So some ways to do that is through pack walking. Your dog needs some exposure to other dogs. It can't always be, hey, don't bark at that dog. How about let's walk in a group together and let's migrate together. And then he can learn how to build some confidence around other dogs. And then when you're on the street, there are some strategies that you can do. You want to give a lot of space, so you don't want to pass really close by in the beginning. And you always want to make sure there's a human in between your dog and the other dog. So the human needs to be in the middle as the buffer zone, right? So you need to be in the middle, because passing dog to dog is generally pretty challenging when you have a reactive dog. And that's something that we do way at the end. We work on all of these things in the beginning, and we get this really, really good. And then we can pass by dog to dog with the right dog. You don't want to pass a dog that's also chomping at the bit and reacting. That's a dog you're going to want to avoid for now, because it's too hard for your dog to stay under control, right? That's kind of like the grand finale. So hopefully the answer to this question got you thinking a little bit, and feel free to post some follow-up questions on the next graphic that I make, because I am going to be doing this again. So feel free, if you've got any follow-up questions, to do so. Okay, the next question, which sort of is similar to what I just answered. It's another barking question. The dog is, my dog has started barking at everything lately because my grandma taught her it's okay because she's talking to us. How do we get it to stop? So again, the answer to the previous question is going to be relevant to your question as well. Yes, barking is a form of communication, but when it becomes neurotic or excessive and it's everything, a leaf blows by and the dog is reacting, or somebody walks by the window and the dog is barking and reacting, it's an unhealthy state to be in, and it's more of an anxious state to be in. When the dog is always sort of like on guard and reacting to everything, they're generally in an anxious state, and it's a very unhealthy mental state to be in. So this question, we would need a little bit more context to it. Is this barking happening inside the home a lot? I assume it's happening outside of the home. You definitely need to work on things inside your home first. If we don't have control inside our home, where the stakes are low, then we are going to struggle a lot when we're outside and the stakes are high. So I work on things inside the home. I would work on having your dog drag a leash inside your home. The reason why is you need to be able to communicate with your dog when they're engaging in unhealthy behavior. And you can't do that if they're loose, because I wouldn't want you to run over to your dog and hey, stop doing that. You don't want to raise your voice. You don't want to run over. You're just adding fuel to the fire when you do that. What you want to do instead is calmly walk over, grab that leash, and give that dog some information through the leash that you are disagreeing with that behavior. That might be removing the dog from the window. That might be giving a little leash pop. Hey, no. Addressing the behavior. You can't just ignore it. It's not just going to go away. The reactivity and the barking is just going to become stronger and stronger. So you want to use that leash to communicate. And you want to get the interior behavior really, really good and under control, where the dog is not living in that state where they see something and just sort of fly off the handle. And you need to be very consistent, and we need to increase a lot of structure for this dog. So if this dog is free roaming in your home and sitting at the window and barking, then that's no longer an option right now. You need to reel them in a little bit. You need to provide that dog with some more rules, some more boundaries, and some structure. So maybe that means the dog doesn't have couch privileges at this point, because when they do, they're engaging in unhealthy behavior. A follow-up question that I want to ask is, It says that, you know, the dog, your grandma taught the dog that it's okay, so she probably agreed with the behavior at some level. Maybe she rewarded it by petting, even if she was sort of shushing, but going, shh, it's okay, but petting. That's not something you want to do, because to the dog, you're telling the dog, yes, do more of this. Even though we're saying, it's okay, don't worry, relax. To the dog, they just feel your energy, and you're saying, do more of that. I like it. Good girl. And so you want to be mindful of that. So somewhere along the lines, the behavior was either like rewarded or maybe just ignored and let continue, and then no one disagreed with it, so it became, you know, this problem at this point. So you want to be mindful of those things. And then I also would want to know, does this dog like live with your grandma, or does the dog spend a lot of time there? Because you want the environment to be very consistent. So if the dog is going to be at your grandma's house a lot and then at your house, you need to make sure that both you and your grandma are doing the same thing. And so this is where the human training comes into play. When you've got multiple people, everybody needs to be on the same page. Okay, so hopefully that helped you a little bit. Definitely you got to disagree with the behavior, otherwise it's just going to continue, and really start inside your home, and then we'll work on some outdoor behaviors, which is going to be much easier when your dog is used to following your lead and your guidance and is used to you disagreeing with them. Excuse me. So try that out to begin, and then again, if you have some follow-up questions, feel free to post them for me, and I'll be able to help you on the next video. So I'm gonna have to stop here just for today, and I'm really sorry if I didn't get to all of you. I know there are some questions that I still have yet to answer. I'm gonna add them to the next video for you. And I really appreciate you guys watching this. I really hope that this is going to help you, get you thinking about some things, and feel free to ask some follow-up questions. I want to be able to provide you with as much value as I possibly can. Whether you're a client or you're not a client, I still want to be able to help all of you, and I want to be able to help your dogs. And so give me some feedback if you like the video. If you want to see more of them, let me know, and I will definitely do this more often for you guys. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.